Today I want to talk about Oklahoma stomping a mud hole and walking dry Oklahoma State, and all that's coming up after the bumper.
Don't be cornering me. Hold up. Time. You gotta help me with that corner shit.
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on Step Mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always college football related, sports related. We have a good time. Today, I want to talk about Oklahoma getting the dub 41-13 over Oklahoma State, just marching over their dead body. First, disclaimer here. I just got done doing quite literally 6 hours of national sports talk radio. So I'm a little bit goofy. I'm a little bit, kind of going here. Like 2 minutes ago, I was on air with Jeff Dickerson on game night, and we were talking through this game from about 6:30 local time to midnight. So that's where we are. As many of you know by now, that's the reason the instant reaction video is not up immediately. Like, I'm at work doing my job, so I get to do this once I get done doing my job. So they didn't really need me, though. Like, they didn't really need you either. Didn't have no Trajan Bridges, didn't have no Austin Stogner, didn't have no Bryson Washington, and it wasn't that big a deal, right? Didn't even have no LaRon Stokes. It was fine. Braden Willis out there making it happen. Marvin Mims out there making it happen. Theo Weiss getting it in. And then Ramondre Stevenson, who is bigger than most of the folks that are chasing him, going for nearly 150 yards. I believe he goes for 26 carries and 141 yards. Let me make sure I get this right. Yes, 5.4 yards per carry on average. And Spencer Rattler had another signature game against a top 25 opponent. 17-24, 301 yards through the air with 4 touchdowns, passing, adding another touchdown on the ground for 5 total against the number 14 team in the country. I thought it was interesting to see Spencer Sanders leave the game early. Shane Illingworth came in the game, did not play like the kind of guy that I thought he was going into this one. 10 of 19 for 97 yards for Spencer Sanders, 5 of 21 for 71 yards for Shane Illingworth. They were not able to move the ball at all through the air, and much less on the ground, holding Chuba Hubbard and L.D. Brown to a combined 18 rushes for 67 yards. Like, this was an outstanding performance for Alex Grinch and his defense to follow up a third consecutive outstanding performance for the defense in which they hold Oklahoma State to 246 total yards. That's remarkable. They also were able to get home for 4 sacks. That gives Oklahoma 30 total for the season and on pace to get to 40 sacks in 2020. Remarkable turnaround for Alex Grinch in almost 2 years that he's been on the job, but particularly since the Iowa State loss, Oklahoma has been playing outstanding defense, was able to get 9 sacks against Kansas, was able to get home repeatedly against Texas Tech, was able to turn over Tech and Kansas to some degree. And Spencer Sanders, who I told you was going to give Oklahoma the ball, through 9 passes, the man had already thrown an interception. It's just not a good look for them. And every time somebody tries to tell me that Oklahoma State is good or is going to be good, we have to point to games like this. This is the 90th win for Oklahoma against Oklahoma State in this series. They call a rivalry. We just call the game in which Oklahoma continues to sun Oklahoma State. Mike Gundy is still winless against Lincoln Riley as head coach, which is remarkable because Mike Gundy's been on the job in Stillwater since 2005, and Lincoln Riley's been on the job as head coach at Oklahoma since 2017. And since Lincoln Riley's been on staff, Oklahoma State has never beaten Oklahoma. You got to go back to 2014 for the last time that the Pokes were able to beat the Sooners in any sort of football game. They become a basketball school of late. Good for them. Meat judging, I'm sure it's taking off. I have tremendous respect for the wrestling program and the baseball program, but not the football program. You understand what it is there. And then softball, you know what it is with Oklahoma. I thought that this was also really great for the chance for Oklahoma to repeat as Big 12 champion for the 6th straight time. They had to win this game, and they controlled their own destiny as Iowa State stopped a mud hole in Kansas State in Farmageddon 45-0, taking out years of frustration on the Wildcats in that one. They were playing even the third string quarterback, and it wasn't a good look for them. At one point, I look up, and Brees Hall has like 123 yards on 13 carries, and Bright Purdy is just carving them up one side down the other. Perhaps we'll get Oklahoma and Iowa State in the Big 12 championship. Of course, Texas is in front of Iowa State, and they got to beat Texas to get themselves into that championship game. Probably playing for a New Year's Six Bowl and an opportunity to represent against perhaps a Texas A&M coming out of the SEC, as we expect Florida and Alabama to end up in the SEC championship game. I can't say enough good things about how Alex Grinch's defense is played, though, holding that Oklahoma State offense to 13 points. When they have Spencer Sanders, Chuba Hubbard, and Tylan Wallace at their disposal, I thought that perhaps Tylan Wallace would have been able to eat in a very big way. One, because you're down in the secondary. There's no Jaden Davis over there. You're asking Trey Brown to do a lot of work for you alongside guys like Woody Washington and Trey Norwood, but also because you're able to keep Tylan Wallace in check with just 4 catches for 68 yards. A couple years ago, he comes into Oklahoma and he goes for over 200. And if Taylor Cornelius does not skip the ball in the end zone, Tylan Wallace catches that, and we're talking about Oklahoma State getting a win in 2018 and keeping Oklahoma definitely out of the college football playoff at that time. But things that need to break Oklahoma's way in November continue to do that. Lincoln Riley improves to something like 34-0 versus Kansas, Texas Tech, Oklahoma State, West Virginia, Baylor. Like, it's been that way. He just owns them as a head coach, and he owns them really as a coordinator as well. For him, it's about getting past Iowa State and Texas. And if those are the teams that you got to play in the Big 12 championship, that only serves to show you what you're really at. Oklahoma improves to 6-2. Oklahoma State falls to 5-2. It'll be interesting to see what the AP rankings do tomorrow, but more importantly, what the college football playoff rankings do on Tuesday when they drop for the first time. I don't think that Oklahoma's going to jump into the top 10. I don't think there's been enough shuffling there, but certainly Wisconsin's loss to Northwestern is going to help you with that. We'll talk about how Texas A&M might figure because they had a game canceled, but I don't think they're going to fall past 6. I think there's a lot of respect for the SEC and how Texas beat a Florida team that a lot of people are gassing up. We'll also take a look at how Georgia's win against Mississippi State with JT Daniels really reshapes the narrative around them. And then Coastal Carolina is still undefeated alongside BYU is undefeated. But Liberty caught an L from North Carolina State. They'll probably drop out of the top 25, but I don't know that affects Oklahoma as much as it's going to affect Oklahoma State and where they fall in the rankings. Lots of moving and shaking going on. Cincinnati gets the 36-33 win against Central Florida after getting tested. I'm interested to see where all this goes, but for Oklahoma, they're doing what they need to do in a 2-loss 10-game season to try to give themselves an opportunity to win the Big 12 championship once again. All right, that is it for me. Deuces.